let's get into it. I've got my notes ready. Let's talk about the Robert Saleh hiring first. Robert Saleh was hired as the New York Jets head coach on Wednesday or Thursday. Not exactly sure what day it was, but it was earlier in the week. I actually believed it happened late Thursday. Robert Saleh, hired by the New York Jets to be the new New York Jets head coach. Robert Saleh was the defensive assistant in Seattle in 2013. Of course, that is the Legion of Boom. Another Legion of Boom production. Dan Quinn, of course, being hired as the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys earlier in the week. We talked about that. If you haven't watched that clip on YouTube, that's a really good segment. You should check it out. But Robert Saleh, another product coming out of Seattle from that 2013 championship team. And he also was the linebacker coach for Jacksonville in 2015 with Gus Bradley. And he was the defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers for the last 4 years under Kyle Shanahan. This is a really good hire. And the main reason that this is a good hire is that the Jets essentially hired the antithesis of everything that was Adam Gase. If you want to completely wipe a man from your memory bank, you absolutely hire the antithesis of that person. So Adam Gase was not good with the media. He was kind of weird, probably tweaked out a couple of times. He was not a great football coach. He really didn't know what he was doing. He seemed uninspired. He seemed unintelligent at times, and frankly, and I know that every single one of my friends that are New York Jets fans are like, yeah, keep going, more. But I mean, that's really where it ends with Adam Gase, because he didn't do anything. The only thing that he did in New York was lose. He had no personality. It's hard to define who Adam Gase is besides just a weird, losing, underwhelming head coach. And when you take a look at Robert Saleh and you hear what people have to say about Saleh, he is an energy boost. He is the cappuccino to your Starbucks order. He's the espresso to your Starbucks order. And he is an absolute firecracker, and I think that is exactly what the New York Jets need in their organization. Robert Saleh, from all reports, just being a really high-energy, caring, pro-player guy. And that is exactly the person that they needed in New York. It's really such a great fit. And just because, a lot of people are saying, well, the defense was actually one of the things that was probably one of the better things about the New York Jets the past couple of years. They don't, obviously there is some young talent. There's Quinnen Williams on the defensive line. Why wouldn't you hire an offensive guy? And just because, I do want to make the point that just because he's a defensive coordinator doesn't know that he also doesn't know how to do offense. I feel like there's a very big stigma around head coaches that whatever position they held prior to that, that's going to characterize the type of team that they have, and that's more or less not always the case. So when you say, oh, the Jets hired a defensive guy, he was with the Legion of Boom in Seattle in 2013, linebackers coach for Jacksonville, had a great 49ers defense over the last couple of years. I think the last 2 years they had a top 5 defense in terms of yards allowed, and that's incredible considering how banged up the San Francisco 49ers were last year. A lot of those injuries were on offense, but still, I digress. It's impressive how good the defense was under Robert Saleh with all the injuries that San Francisco had that year. So just because he's a defensive guy doesn't mean that it's going to be a strictly defensive team, and he has served with Kyle Shanahan, which is probably one of the top 3 offensive minds in the league at this point. So he does have some offensive chops to him. But I think regardless of whether the type of team the Jets is going to be is more of a strong defensive team or a strong offensive team, that doesn't matter. As long as the team has energy and a passion to play and a culture and they want to play for the head coach. And I think that's what you're going to get out of Robert Saleh, is you're going to have players that want to play for this coach because he is a fascinating human being. He's an energetic human being. And that's really a lot of the qualities that you want in a good head football coach. He's a big, tough, muscular guy with a great smile who could talk to you about whatever it is you would need to talk about. And I think a lot of NFL locker rooms would appreciate having somebody like that. So when you take a look at the Jets, which has probably been one of the worst franchises in the league for seasons upon seasons upon seasons, you think this is exactly what they need to turn it around. Now, the other big thing is that Robert Saleh appears to believe in Sam Darnold. And I don't think you would have been able to hire Robert Saleh if he did not have some confidence that he could do work with the roster that was already there and focus on fulfilling the team that he wants to build with the draft haul that the Jets have with this draft. If Robert Saleh wasn't on board with Sam Darnold, you probably might have hired somebody else. I'm just going to throw that thought out there because there's a difference between starting with a brand new quarterback and then having to fit pieces around that quarterback, and then as opposed to starting with a quarterback who's already been there for a couple of years. He's regressed. He's had lots of head coaches, a lot of offensive coordinators, but you have him there, you understand what he does and what he can do, and you can use your draft capital to start filling in the pieces around him. And I think that's what the Jets are going for, instead of starting over with a new quarterback, because, again, the most important relationship on an NFL football team is the quarterback and the head coach. If neither of those are working, you're not going to win. So the fact that Robert Saleh is coming in and reportedly is okay with Darnold and wants to work with Darnold, that, in my opinion, is a good thing for the Jets. I think Sam Darnold has talent. I think he's been dragged through the mud by Adam Gase because of Adam Gase. So I think Robert Saleh coming in with all this energy, this spunk, this charismatic personality, him coming in with that, being a completely pro player coach, and him having draft capital to start building the rest of the team that he wants in order to turn around this franchise, the Jets could be actually a decent football team by the end of next season. I don't want to set too high expectations for Saleh, who is a first-time head coach. Again, he was only a defensive assistant in both Seattle, Jacksonville, and of course he was the defensive coordinator for the 49ers for the last 4 seasons. So this is his first head coaching job, but I am overwhelmingly positive about this hire. I think it's a great hire. I think the Jets did a great job. I mentioned that the Jets might hire Doug Peterson because of Doug Peterson's relationship with Joe Douglas, who is the Jets general manager. Now that I think about that take, I'm kind of glad that Doug Peterson didn't go to the Jets. I think Doug Peterson probably will take a couple years off from football, and especially if Doug Peterson is in tank mode, I don't think that's where the Jets are. Despite where their record finished them last year, I think the Jets feel pretty strongly about where they can be by the end of the season. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching this segment from the Hard-Headed Sports Podcast. If you're interested in watching more highlights from the show as they come out after the show's completion, you should definitely hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell to turn on those notifications so you never miss an upload. If you're interested in listening to the whole show in its entirety, you can listen to the show on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Anchor. Again, thank you so much for watching the show. I hope you have an incredible day, and I will see you all very soon.